All right, welcome back, race fans, to another round of the IMSC, the International Manufacturer Spec Challenge. There you go. There's my announcer voice for you guys. We're here in Germany. We're at Oschersleban, and I'll hand it over to Yankee for a quick recap of the course.
Yes, good evening. This round is at Motorsport Arena Oschersleban. It's a grade 2 FI track that's 2.28 miles long. Was first opened on July 25th, 1997. Is the fourth permanent race course after Nürburgring, Hockenheimring, and Sachsenring in Germany.
Nice, and as you can see, we're on board with the Bentley GT3 for race number 2 for 30 minutes, and we're actually on the go right now. We're on board with a quick sketch in the British colors. Speedy Jab right in front of him, Yankees fan in front, and Yankee on pole actually in this car. I think Yankee really loved this car. And we've got a driver that we didn't see in the last round or last race in the Mercedes-Benz. We've got Irving 104, who is a staple of the channel, and Dudeman on 6th place right now. So this race I think is going to be a little more exciting than the last race. There wasn't too much going on after the drivers kind of separated themselves. Let me get the map on here. So real quick, we talked about some of the other things about the natures of the course. I mean, that in the other video. So if you want to know kind of what our drivers think, or at least the 3 drivers here, what we kind of think about this track, please feel free to go check out the Mercedes-Benz 190E touring car race we had previous to this. But anyway, jumping right in, you can see the drivers are actually a lot more comfortable in this car. This car right out of the box was a lot more planted. I specifically did not have any time in the Bentley at all. This is the first time I drove it in a long time, and just chose the stock, loose setup, made our tweaks that we made to our tune restrictions, and then that was it. I think my tire pressure was a little high, but it wasn't bad. It was really easy to jump in and drive. So did you guys find this car very user-friendly as well?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely very plug and play. I really didn't do much development work, whereas I definitely spent most of the time working with the Mercedes. Yeah, how about you, Yankee? Work out for you?
Yeah, for me, all I focused on was, it was very planted, and for me, I felt it needed a little bit more work on turn-in. I was able to get that sorted, and it helped me out a lot.
Yes, I particularly love the sound of the Bentley. Just that roaring V8. I don't even know what it has in it anymore. Is it the V8 still?
Yeah, it's the V8, the twin turbo V8.
Twin turbo, yeah. Yeah, but look at see it shakes the camera there too. It's a nice touch. Actually, let's go on board with the all feature. That way we can see a couple different looks to this car. So you can see the top 3 have already broken away just a little bit or in line. Quick sketch, you find yourself in the middle here, kind of bridging the gap and rubber banding. But you can see on track once we go to his hood view, the other drivers aren't too far away. So in your mind, when you look at something like this, get used to this car after driving the last car, and arguably has a lot more grip, but the technique is slightly different. Does that help you to see those drivers in front so close?
Absolutely. Yeah, it definitely pulls me along. At the same time, of course, there's still that active patience. It's always really tough to then hit your mark and stick to your line while then you're trying to look at those cars either get away from you or you're slowly coming close. But it definitely is inspiring.
Yeah, and this is the first time that you actually have driven with the driver right behind you in the bright green or metallic mint green of Irving 104. So obviously he's part of the community, but I think this is the first time you've driven with him. So do you recall what your thought process was as you see him getting closer and closer and closer?
Yeah, lots of sweat, lots of tight breathing. Definitely. If it's not driving with him, it definitely was. It's hard to stay out of my mirrors. All I wanted to do, of course, try and get away from him, but I could see that just wasn't going to happen. So from that point, even kind of Yankee, as you mentioned in the last race that we're going through, that yes, it's a matter of trying to keep it tidy, hit your marks, and try to keep the. I guess relatively make my car as respectfully wide as possible in that regard.
Can you make the Bentley wider? I don't know. it already dominates this. Yeah. Yes, so I noticed going through the chicane was a lot different in this car versus the Mercedes, just because of the sheer girth of this car and how wide it is and how big. And you know what the cool thing about this game and the sim that I really like is you can definitely feel that the car is bigger, heavier, you know, has more to it. So did you guys think the same thing, or what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I felt the same. Yeah, you can feel like it was bigger, but I was surprised with how balanced it was.
Yeah, it's a really fun car to drive.
Yeah, it was. You can just throw it in the corner and it sticks, does everything you want it to do.
And I think that's funny.
Yeah, I was blown away.
They mentioned that in real life racing too. A lot of guys that jump in the Bentley are super surprised on how, and actually one, how light it is. I want to say it's only like 2,800 pounds or something like that, or 2,900 pounds for what kind of car it is. And they're pleasantly surprised, especially at like Bathurst when they do the 12-hour or the big races, the endurance races. They're pleasantly surprised on how nimble it is because it doesn't feel like it should be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, coming in, I was not looking forward to getting in the car initially, obviously digitally, but yeah, I was blown away. I'm just gonna say how plug and play the handling was. That you really didn't have to adjust yourself for the car. It was set up to begin with.
Yeah. So
it looks like a tank, but it drives like a real race car.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, conversely here, I was actually going to talk to you, Yankee, because you're in the lead right now. You set the fastest pole time. So, when you do something like that, does your mindset change when you know you're the fastest? Do you automatically assume that you're going to be the fastest in the race? Like, what do you think when that happens?
Well, for me, I was surprised I was the fastest, but also because I knew I was the fastest coming into the race. If I just told myself keep it clean, hit my marks, and if I just maintain and keep consistent, and no one should be able to pass me really. And what helped me was because I was consistent. I would glance at the times, and I would be within a tenth of the time the lap before. So I was pretty happy with my consistency for this race.
Nice. So your mindset really doesn't change, is what you're saying, because I think you kind of mentioned a lot of the same things too. So it sounds like one of your keys to success is just consistency and just being patient and smooth, right?
Yeah.
And it definitely shows. So you actually pulled quite a big gap on Rooster right now, and then I think this is when I had my spin into the turn 2 complex, got on the throttle a little too eagerly, and then put it into the wall a little bit with a slight bit of damage. So I'm back down to 5th now. Yankee, you're 1.7 seconds ahead of Rooster. Irving 104 has now got up to 3rd place. He's 4.3 seconds behind you, and Quick Sketch in 4th still with 7.6 seconds. I think this is the battle that Quick Sketch and I had for the remainder of the race, pretty much. 23 minutes left in the race. I think we were battling left and right, like the whole hammer and tong, like the whole time. And then Dito's back down in 6th, 27 seconds off the lead. So really no big battles right now that I can see according to the timing. This is probably at Yankee and Rooster. And everybody else. Look at that. It's almost like it's spread out exactly the same intervals almost. Let's get on board with Yankee.
3 seconds.
Yeah. So this is on board with 2nd place, which is Rooster. I commented on another video too. So let's talk about the drivers for a second. Quick Sketch. I know you're not going to know a lot of the drivers yet, but I'm actually interested. That kind of almost gives you a little more credibility at this stage because you actually coming into this don't know the drivers at all. So it's going to be real honest opinion. So talking about some of these drivers, was there anybody that you found particularly like enjoyable to race against? And then we'll go the other route.
So far, again, the first race ever I joined in with you guys was the touring car race at Bugatti Circuit. So that actually ended up being pretty much nose to tail with Diedemann kind of the whole time. Really enjoyed just kind of, I think, the respect that we both were giving each other. He definitely had a nice, clean, consistent. He touched me, I think, bumped me off once, but as with the rules and such, he gentlemanly waited and had me go by at a good spot. And so that right there gave me a good kind of indication of the general so just hearing the conversations, of course, and testing and all else, kind of knowing that I'm in a like-minded group was then kind of a good way to get on track and to kind of be, as I said, respectful with fellow racers.
Nice.
But yeah, so Dieterman, but then also I definitely look to, as I'm trying to learn, I look to Rooster. He seems like a pretty strong contender. I haven't raced with him wheel to wheel yet, but yeah, he seems like I'm just noticing in the boards, he's been second every time. It is solid consistency. Interesting.
Yeah, and I mentioned that in the previous videos that his speed lately has really, really impressed me, and just his consistency and his rise. So Rooster's been on board with us about, I think, 8 months to at least a year. I pretty much ran a lot of series last year, if not all of them, when we met him. And all they did was I joined a public lobby. I put ORC test, league test, and I just I hung out in the back and I just watched drivers. And if the drivers impressed me with what they were doing, then I messaged them afterwards and asked them if they were interested in joining some league racing, that they had the right characteristics of the driver I was looking for. I think they'd fit well in our community, and if they were looking to get out of that public, bass and smash, public lobbies. And that's where we found him. That's where we found Dieterman. That's where we found Customs. That's where we found a lot of the drivers. Unfortunately, you're not able to meet a lot of the drivers because a few of their drivers are actually doing other leagues and other games and different life stuff. But yeah. So Yankee, what's lately? What are you thinking about some of the drivers? What's your impressions of some of the staple drivers we've had?
Yeah, everyone is fun to compete with them. Like Quick Sketch said, we're all like-minded. All enthusiasts that love to race, and it shows when we're in practice and during the race. It's enjoyable.
Yeah, and I think if I remember back, I started leagues in Forza 4. That's where I really started racing. But I was on controller, and obviously Forza, that's what that game is made for. So, and we've talked about this at length, Yankee, lots of times. But I didn't get my wheel until only about 2 years ago now. And same thing as Quick Sketch mentioned, is that I was leery about getting online because I didn't want to ruin anybody else's race. I didn't want to be that guy. But I also wanted to practice. I'd practice offline quite a bit in this game and in Forza, and I could never bridge the gap between wheel and Forza. It just, the characteristics on that game just don't lend itself to wheel support, I don't think. It's made primarily for controller. This game is made for wheel. So same thing too. You can get on controller and you definitely can tell a difference. But a couple of the guys here actually on controller, like we're watching right now, Irving 104 is on controller. And he's actually adapted and done really well with this game in particular. But yeah, I didn't want to ruin anybody's race, so I didn't really fully dive into what I would consider sim racing until you have a wheel, right?
Exactly, yeah.
But now that I'm into it, I don't drive with the controller ever now. And I quit Forza altogether. Like, I don't race any Forza anymore. Yankee, on the other hand, actually still races our Sunday night league. After this one, we do a Sunday night Forza. I think it's the Miata Challenge right now, Yankee, right? Okay, and Yankee still jumps back, and you're not doing controller on that. You're doing wheel, right?
No, I'm still doing controller.
Oh, you are?
Everyone says controller is better for Forza. So.
Gotcha, okay. I was about to be impressed, but now I take it back. Yeah. You resigned to the fact. No, I totally know what you're talking about. We've talked about that at length with Black Ghost, the other ORC admin. ORC Severius has been running that league over there, so if anybody's interested in, and we're not dogging the game per se, we're just talking about the different facts that the game has and the different sims. So likewise, it's hard to get on controller for this game. So if you do the plug and play, just get on board, just get some quick racing, Forza is definitely a great game to do that. Project Cars 2 is a lot more in depth. There's a lot more stuff, and that's what scares a lot of people off. But that's personally what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that simulation, more feel to it. More tire temps, engine, braking. All kinds of stuff comes with this, with a wheel. So definitely look forward to that. But ORC Severus has been running the Forza stuff for us. over at on that server every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern is where we do that, and they're currently doing the Miata Challenge week number 4 of that. So after this, our next series is going to be the Vintage Trans Am or GTA. So we've got 4 offerings in Project Cars 2, and I think they're going to have a lot more in Forza because they have a bigger car selection, 700 cars or something like that to choose from. So look forward to that. So talking about the next series, are you guys looking forward to Trans Am?
I definitely am. I'm a big vintage race fan, so that'll be right up my alley. Excited for it.
Nice. So we've got, I think we've got the 69, I'm trying to remember offhand because I can't look at my phone right now, it's otherwise engaged. But we've got the 69 Z28 Trans Am Camaro. We've got the Jaguar E-Type, I think, 69 maybe?
Yeah, Bob Tullius. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I'm trying to remember the other 2 cars offhand. I may not be able to do it. But anyway, so...
yeah, the 240Z.
240Z,
yeah, so
thank you.
240Z, and then there's the late 60s Porsche 911. Actually, and Ferrari Daytona, can't forget that. That's a great one.
Yeah, so I think the Ferrari, if the Porsche's in there, then it's probably the whatchamacallit, the downloadable content, the DLC content. So I didn't have that on the list per se. But yeah, so we have a couple of cars to choose from. So what car do you guys think you're going to go with?
What do you think, Yankee?
I have to test them to make sure. I think the ones that catch my eye are the Ferrari and the Nissan.
Nice. Yeah,
Gotcha.
Nissan sounds great. Fun one. Yeah, for me, we're allowed to do DLC, is that correct?
Yeah,
We're keeping it.
the DLC content will be allowed as long as all the racers agree to that.
Gotcha. So yeah, so if that is the case, it'd probably be either the Mustang, okay, you have to right along there with the Camaro, but the Mustang or the Daytona Ferrari would be my choice.
Nice. I think I'm automatically leaning towards the 69 Camaro because that is actually a real life car that I would like to get and restore. So I think it'd be fun to that. I don't know if it's the most competitive, but hopefully, you know, obviously there's strengths and weaknesses in each car. So anyway,
That'd be a strong contender.
yeah,
Sure.
I'll love the sound of it. I know that. So I think that's more what I'm going for is what can I deal with sound wise while I'm driving it. That'll be my only consideration.
Sound is very important.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes some of my favorite cars the best volume for sure.
Yep. So actually, go on board of the race here. This is the time where you and we actually just almost changed his position the last lap around this corner. Actually, right here where I tried to go the outside and just couldn't make it happen. And
Oh yes.
yeah, and ran wide on that curb and then gave the position back. But I never really had fully the position. But this is I remember this battle thinking like, God, is this ever going to end? Am I ever going to get past him? Is he ever going to let me by? No. But it was a great battle, and it was interesting to see the different lines that each of us have in this, and we're still roughly going about the same pace in this car. And I noticed like my particular thing, and you noticed me catch up here, is that I was faster in the chicane. You were faster in a couple of the other parts too, which I'll mention when we get up to the points where we are. But it was the ebb and flow that kept happening back and forth, and it was a little mistake here by me, a little mistake here by you that kind of drew us back closer together.
Oh yeah.
But the racing was phenomenal. This was actually one of the funner races I had, was just that trying to get past you. And then you'll see right here in the straight, I had aero damage from that bump on the wall, so you'll see you just pull away right here. And it was always that disheartening, like, God dang it, there's nothing I could do here. And it doesn't seem like much, but it's just that a couple tenths. You see it right there as it finally draws out. But I think
I always would pull away on the straights. That's interesting.
Yeah, and you see here, you take a really wide entry, I take a really narrow, but you see towards the end here, you got a better exit. And but it was funny because my goal there, and the reason I kept doing it was my goal was, okay, well, if I can get my nose in his mirrors, he might focus behind, and then I can pounce on that.
It is. So I was noticing that too, and so I was trying to assess the scene in the mirrors. I was trying to assess, like, is the tight line going to be better, but then I'd see and I would gap out, gap you getting out of the turn there. So there's that factor of patience of having to then kind of try to just stay true to what I believe, to my line in that case, to carry on, that I could then still stay ahead of you in that regard. It's tough.
Right. Yeah, the ebb and flow of the racing, I think, is awesome to see, and the different race lines and techniques and the way drivers implement their version of what they think is faster and what works for them. Because sometimes some of them might be faster, but it just doesn't feel comfortable. So you revert back to kind of what you feel is more comfortable, even though you know it's slower.
Yep.
So I definitely do that, I know for sure. And you can see both of us are taking a lot of liberties on the curbs and a lot of dirt. So you can see both pushing. And let's go check on Yankee, who is still 2 seconds ahead of Rooster. You see he's clean into the sweeper now, or Rooster's still getting into the first part of that. So Yankee, we're about, oops, wrong one. We're about 10 minutes left on the race. Do you recall just thinking about this and the same thing? Was your mindset still the same? Just say, hit your mark, stay in front, be clean?
Yeah, just keep doing what I'm doing. Don't try and push too hard. I did notice there was a certain point where Rooster was catching me. Then I did try and I was on autopilot a little bit, just trying to not make any mistakes, and then it started catching me, so I had to push a little more. Still just hit my marks and don't make any mistakes.
Yeah, and you seem to be the most comfortable in this car, so it didn't take you very long to get really into this car, transitioning straight over from the other one.
Yeah.
Sorry, Quick, what were you going to say?
No, just saying that complacency definitely is tough. It's a hard challenge to kind of stay above. I know when you lead a race for too long, you start getting just kind of set in your ways, and all of a sudden, even I definitely made mistakes in the last couple laps where you just kind of give away the lead for the sort of brain farts. It's tough to stay true to it.
Yeah, definitely. And it's hard. You think about it from just a logistical standpoint. Driving 30 minutes on the same, you're driving the same car, tires are heated up, everything's warm, and everything's acting like it should. But it's just that lack of focus on one part, a millisecond,
right?
And it could cause you the race, or it could cause you at least to have a battle that you don't want to be involved in.
Right.
And now we're on.
Plenty of times too. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say that there'd be those times where you still want to experiment, try things, especially if you're on your own in the race for long enough, and then you kind of mistakenly take those risks that you should try a gear down somewhere where you're always a little higher, and all of a sudden you then lock the wheels in that case, just where you didn't need to be experimenting. I'll run into that problem.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we got a battle now for. Third and second place right now. It looks like Irvin 104 has caught Rooster pretty handily in the last couple laps here, and this is the battle we're looking at right now on the back of the big old Bentley, the green Bentley in front. They have the same livery, I think they do. Maybe different number. So this is the difference here. Let me go on board here. You can actually see this is the difference, I think it's worth noting, between when we go to cockpit cam here and stay in this cockpit cam. This is the difference between Irvin 104 on a controller, Rooster's on a wheel, but watch the difference in the turn in, and watch the difference in the way that the hands, how quick the hands are. And there you go. See, there's the corrections right there that you necessarily won't see on the wheel, but you definitely have to see it on a controller thumb. So that's a good indication there, where you know where that driver's what medium he's using. But he's doing well. Like I said, he's caught up to Rooster now, who's been dominating second place this whole race. And now we're down to the last 7 minutes, and look at this, close up quickly. And try for an outside move here. Sticking to the outside gives Rooster some room. And I think he's clear. There you go, there's the pass for second place. So,
that was a great move, and good respect shown by both of them.
Yeah, definitely. You could tell that the both drivers left just enough room to get through that, and that was it. Not much more than that. And now you can see Rooster right behind there. Rooster's not going to give up, so he's going to try to get this back, but it's got to be quick because we're winding this down. 6 minutes left in the video, so it's about probably 4 minutes left or 5 minutes left in the race.
One thing I do remember is Irving had a penalty, I think of a second or two. So Rooster doesn't really have to pass him, he just needs to stay close. He'll still get second.
Yeah, I do remember. You say that, I do remember that, and I think the end result will actually show that Rooster, all he's got to do is stay close. So, does that change your mentality at all, Yankee? If you're in that situation, or is that what you're looking for? Is just stay close enough, and you're not looking for a move, or are you still a racing driver at the end of the day? And if a gap's there, you're going to take it.
For me, I would probably be more cautious and only try and overtake if it's clear and I know I'll make it. If it's 50-50, I won't take the chance. Just stay within the 1 second gap that I need to, so I'll still get place that I wanted anyway.
Quick sketch, what do you think about that?
It's tough. I definitely, I try to be mindful, kind of as Yankee's talking about as well. With that penalty, and either work with it if they're really right on your bumper. And you kind of know that you also get that bit of buffer if they do get around you, or again if you're chasing after someone with a, whatever you call it, a penalty, excuse me. But they're definitely, I still get caught up in the kind of the heat of things, especially if you're bumper to bumper with someone. And I think I find myself going for those gaps more than I would necessarily need to in that case. At least it's exciting, hard not to.
Yeah, I'm on the fence on both those. I definitely agree with both sides, but for me in particular, it is almost like a pride thing. Like, I don't want to beat you because you have a penalty. I want to beat you because I'm faster and because I have the racecraft to pass you. So you're right. I think maybe I do lean more towards quick sketch idea as far as that is. I mean, I'll be patient enough and hopefully be such a nuisance that they'll make a mistake and I'll have to worry about it, right? And then I'll pass them on track regardless.
Yeah.
But yeah, I prefer, and obviously we know stuff happens. I mean, I think in this race I had a couple seconds penalty as well. So even if I was getting past quick sketch in that race, I still had to stay. I think I had 3 second penalty. I had to stay 3 seconds ahead of him,
2 or 3, yeah.
which probably wouldn't happen. So
right. Because with that too, I think it wasn't until after the race that then I really kind of realized like you had a penalty and you're like, so I was definitely pushing my ass up to try to stay ahead.
Right.
And I realized I could have eased up a bit in that regard, and even let you gone in that case, try to stick with you for that.
Well, and I think that's where you have to balance everything, risk versus reward. That's the biggest thing you got to balance. If it was an issue where we would have got in an accident and taken us both out and crashed and then lost, more positions, then right, that would have probably been more of a mitigating factor in a decision to let me go or, to keep me behind. But at the end of the day, we're still all racing, and I appreciate the racing. You have races where you win, like Yankee right now, where you're winning, by 6 seconds now, Yankee. And then you have races where you're battling in, 4th and 5th, like a quick session But arguably, some of those races are even more fun because of the battling. I think anybody can drive fast, and it's just a consistency. Anybody can drive at a fast lap, but it's that racecraft and that's understanding that you have to give the person room on the outside or inside, and knowing when to give up, when to race hard, and when to kind of understand when it's up, and that type of thing. There's so many things that go on in a race, even online. Most people think that we're just chair jockeys, we're sitting on this couch, playing this game, and arguably we are. I mean, we're not in a real world, obviously, pushing around this big, huge machine in real life, but the mental dexterity still has to be there, and that's what I try to impress upon people, and that's why real race car drivers actually use, project cars to iRacing, ACC. They use it as a training tools because racing is more about mental than it is about physical.
Back to what you're saying about the battle aspect of it doesn't have to necessarily be for the lead, which I think a lot of people that aren't into racing are going to have to assume. But one of the greatest battles in history in Formula One was it was a battle for, I believe, like 4th or something between two drivers whose names I can't think of at the moment, but they were up to very good. Ferrari and Renault, I can tell you that much. But nevertheless, it's yeah, it's interesting. That's what I've definitely started to learn, that just those battles that happen mid-pack anywhere on the track are the interesting things to have, exciting things to have.
Yeah. And speaking of that, this battle between you and I continue. You know, what do we? We're 2/10, 3/10 apart most of the time.
Yeah.
And the ebb and flow of this racetrack and where we're strong and stuff really come into play, which is awesome. So again, this is the most fun right here. And my thought process this whole time is, God dang, how can I get past him? Where is he weak? Where can I show my nose? And I remember thinking, go to this, we're like, uh-oh. But watch this.
Yep.
Watch how much respect is shown. No touching. You know, just, and for you to sweep her on the outside was pretty awesome too. And then I sweep on it. Oh, and that's where we get a little touch. Okay. And that's the one where we talked about already that, man, it's just, there's almost no way to avoid that just because of the size of this car, I think, in that area. But again, we continue the battle. No harm done.
I saved by the way.
From going into the wall, yeah. I'd already seen the wall once, so I didn't really want to go visit it again. It wasn't a destination I was interested in at that time. But yeah, definitely hard racing. You can definitely tell that both drivers here, obviously, and you got the commenters on. So myself and a quick sketch up there in the white one definitely had a blast. This is what it's all about. This is what we look forward to.
I think you had slightly more fun than I did, being that I was doing my best to get away from you. But I'm happy to have helped you out there.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And there's the video, guys. Perfect.
Awesome.
All right, so another one in the books. Again, now we've got two more races left, round 5 and round 6. Rapuna Park and then Zhuhai International. So look forward to the next videos coming up. Thank you to my guest commenter and driver, new driver. It's his second round into the IMSC or ORC universe, let's say, or galaxy. Do you prefer galaxy or universe? I'm not sure.
Universe, why not?
Universe, because we're the only verse. It's only one. We got Quick Sketch, who's actually commenting right now with us and having a blast, I think, hopefully in the racing. Looking forward to a bigger field, I think, next week, this Sunday coming up. But hopefully we'll get, I hope for at least 10 drivers. We had a lot of drivers missing. And I think we've had 1 or 2 drivers bow out, if I'm not mistaken. Not going to continue, so hopefully we get some more. So thank you, Quick Sketch, for joining in, for giving your commentary and your position on everything. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having me here.
And thank you to ORC Yankees fan, as usual, for coming on with his wisdom and his soft, sexy voice.
Thank you, I guess.
Thank you, I guess. You know, Yankee, that the ladies only listen to. If we do have lady fans, they only listen and wait for you. So what I probably should do is just put stamps on everything and put Yankee Talks Now, Yankee Talks Now, Yankee Talks Now. What do you think? Do you think that's a good idea?
Oh yeah, I guess you can put annotations at the bottom of the video for when I speak.
There you go. I just put one right now. A mental note. End of the video. Yankee Talks Now. Perfect. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much again. Everybody, thank you so much for joining. If you do find the video helpful, funny, whatever you guys like, put the thumbs up if you can. Click that notification bell and become a subscriber so you don't miss out on any videos coming up. And we'll call it the night. Good night, everybody.